All right, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Womack, and this is.
And I'm Mr. Mo.
And welcome to Wakanda Tech Academy Afrofuturism. Thank you again for joining us this morning. So, today we are going to talk about, of course, what is Afrofuturism and how it's reflected in Black Panther. And then we'll discuss what a socially just and technologically advanced society can look like for and by Black people. And then we'll do a little activity on Autodesk SketchBook with Mr. Mo. And we'll kind of like create a mock-up of an Afrofuturistic society. So you can pull up the PowerPoint. Okay. So can you all see that? You can type in yes.
I think they can
Yes.
see it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So you can go to the next.
Did you want to use the
pointer option? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what is Wakanda Tech Academy? Again, it's a series of online monthly meetups for middle school students to really dive into the history, the culture around, figures, moments, periods that have defined African American culture and consciousness, but then use these cultural milestones as inspiration for how you all can create social impact or empowerment in your own community. So I said that, last time or every time I would refer to this quote here by Toni Morrison, that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. So when we are having these monthly meetups, it's not just about attaining or acquiring knowledge or skills for yourself, but then thinking about, even at this young age, how can I take what I know and the skills that I've acquired to help other people? So we want to keep emphasizing that and pounding that quote into your heads. So, of course, the question of the day is, what is Afrofuturism? So if you all can type that in the chat box, what you think Afrofuturism is. So if you have heard it before, you can or just looking at the term, what do you think Afrofuturism is? Or if you got to do any of the pre-session activities that were on the site. So just type that out really quickly, what you think Afrofuturism is. Okay, so Zhora says something created by Black people. Okay. Any other ideas? Okay, I think Caleb said, I think Afrofuturism is a futuristic society by Black people. Okay. So when you all say futuristic society, what does that mean? What does that entail? And you can just type it, something really brief. A society beyond our time. Okay. All right. So we'll look at the definition here that I actually pulled from one of the readings that we posted in the pre-session activity. Go ahead. So this person that wrote the article said that Afrofuturism is the reimagining of a future filled with art, science, and technology seen through a Black lens. So it's a society, again, that's reimagined by us. So it's rooted in Blackness. So it's not going to be a society where it's just a Black person and then they're plopped in the future. So I'm thinking of older movies. I don't know if Mr. Mo has an example. I'm thinking of something Will Smith might have been in, or The Matrix. And you guys are kind of too young to, I feel like, know those references. Is there like a more modern movie where it was just like a Black person
in the
or
future?
black people, yeah, that were like plopped into a futuristic society?
I
You
mean,
can't think of
not in my
anything?
mind. No, I
Okay.
mean, just yeah, like back in the day, Will Smith,
He
I
was,
Am Robot was the
uh-huh.
one. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess when you imagine the future, it's just different in terms of like, what do you imagine your surroundings to look like, right? When we
Mm-hmm.
imagine the future, we're thinking about typically the technology of the future defines the future for most people, right? Um, uh, because if we're in the national park in the future, it just looks like the national park, right?
Right.
Because there's no technology present, no cities, no buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So when we imagine a future, um, it's usually defined by the types of technology that are present in that imagery. And so, that is kind of, I think, where the future or Afrofuturism resides, right?
Right, but the point I was trying to make is that if you look at those Will Smith movies or any movie that is current and it just has a black person in a futuristic society, that's not Afrofuturism. We're talking about where it's rooted in blackness, like Black Panther, and that's what makes Black Panther different, because all the elements there, the arts, science, and technology are seen through a black lens.
But what does that mean, though? You say it's seen through a black lens, like
We're
meaning
gonna
okay,
look at some
okay.
pictures later, and then we'll tell them what that means. Also, with Afrofuturism, there's going to be a social empowerment um, like lens, or there'll be some kind of spin on social empowerment, social impact as well, social justice. And then I also want you all to know that this term has been around since the 1950s. So there were black people that were trying to think about alternative or alternate realities. If you all have studied like segregation or Jim Crow, they're trying to think about, even though they're in this situation where they're experiencing segregation, they're trying to think of this whole alternate reality, something beyond the prejudice and discrimination that they are experiencing. So Afrofuturism has been around for a while, and some people who study Afrofuturism believe that even imagining these worlds help us to actually do the work of creating them. So that's why we thought it was important to kind of look at that today. We are talking about it. We're reimagining a future through a black lens, but then, we're hoping that you take these ideas on, when you get older, and you actually can reimagine the future for yourself and in our communities. Next slide. So let's look at a few images from Black Panther. We have here, do you have the, yeah. So we have here the cityscape. So what makes this Afrofuturistic? This scene from Black Panther.
So if you're looking at these images, what are some of the elements that Dr. Womack has said that make this distinctly African or black? Is there
Can you
anything?
spot anything? And you all can type it on the side. Anything that you see that looks like, that makes it Afrofuturistic.
Even in this smaller picture here, do you see anything that alludes to blackness or Africanness?
Okay, all the different colors and shapes on some of the buildings. Okay, what colors are you all seeing?
Yeah.
It's a city full of technology and the colors. Okay, what colors are you all seeing? Because that's important, the color. It might be a little hard to see, and you all are pointing to the idea of it looking futuristic. How? So black, orange, blue, brown. I see red over here in the corner. Yeah, over there in the corner.
Yeah, if we look at, just to break this down a little bit, yeah. So these tires definitely, right? They're prominent in the picture. Even though it's an advanced technology, these a more primitive architecture, right? In that sense, like, right, more like what you would see in a tribe or something similar. Over here too, we have this building here, what looks like a thatch roof, like branches and things like that, right? Still in advanced advanced structure, like you see here. These have some glass structures here, but the angles, the just the basic structure of them kind of remind you of what you would imagine Africa to look like, right? Or at least something in the vein of tribes or tribalism. And then here too, if we look like, if this is like a zoomed in view of what's going on in the city streets, even though it's advanced technology, still looks like a marketplace of some sort, right? Where people are gathering, like a swap meet, like Slauson.
They don't know about that.
No, I know. Then you up here you have, looks like some advanced form of transportation. So it's a mixing of traditional African elements, like Dr. Womack says, with technology, right? Or advanced elements.
Okay. So now we're going to look at another scene from Black Panther. So here, so you all were talking about colors. Anything else that you all notice here that makes these scenes Afrofuturistic?
Do you want to pull somebody up?
I was going to wait till, you do the activity. So their face paint. Okay, so Shuri's face paint. Anything else that makes it Afrofuturistic? So that the face paint is related to tribal symbolism.
Caleb said the clothing.
And the clothing.
What about the clothing?
Makes
it African or Afrofuturistic?
Yeah. And try to look hard. I know it's hard to kind of like zoom in, but yeah, what about the clothing? The hanging cloth. Okay. So if you look, So Mr. Mo, he has the pointer, the hanging cloth.
Here.
Makes it related to Africanness. It's not just one color, it's multiple colors. So definitely.
The colors and then
go ahead.
And then the patterns of it, right? So how do you mix these colors in a certain way that make them look African? The jewelry, the necklace here, and then even here with the queen, her headpiece is distinctly African, right? So we can see these things, and typically we can, when we see something, we know it's African, right? And maybe we haven't thought about why we know it's African, but typically that means it's because of the patterns, the colors, and how those things are kind of mixed together in a way that gives it its Africanness, if you will, or its blackness. And then finally here.
What makes it futuristic?
Okay.
What makes it futuristic? So we know what makes the clothing, the face paint actually African. What makes it futuristic in this scene? Any ideas?
The weapons. Yep.
Okay, the weapons. All right. So one of those, I don't know if that would be like a weapon. What is the beads?
Well, the
more.
Beads.
The
here.
Kimoyo beads.
And then we zoomed in on that. Yeah.
The hand. Do they have handguns? Do they have handguns?
Well, they have weapons.
Okay. In this particular scene, but if you all point at if you look at her beads on her wrists, okay, the bracelet, allows her to do a lot of futuristic stuff with the beaded bracelet that Mr. Mo is going to explain.
I mean, if you've seen the movie, then you know that the Kimoyo beads, they do a variety of things, right? They can display a hologram, right? And then I think even in one scene, they were used as some sort of a medical device where it's able to save the agent. It's a computer.
On
Yep,
your
that's
wrist.
right.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not necessarily apparent when you look at it, but you know, if you've seen the movie, then you know that that's a piece of technology. And then the weapons here, sure, he uses, which is some sort of like energy blaster. But you know, the Afrofuturism is really when you mix all of these things together in a way that's almost like, again, gives it that blackness, right?
Right. And then also just pointing out, if you all did not know, the actual costume designer for Black Panther, her name's Ruth Carter. She designed Queen Ramonda? Ramonda. Her crown, it was 3D printed. And then I think this, you know, kind of like cape-like piece of clothing that she has, that was all 3D printed. Okay, so even the costume designer is trying to make things futuristic in the way that she made the actual costume. Okay, and then one more slide, and these are actual real life images here. So if we look at the two boys here on the side, what makes this Afrofuturistic? Look at their attire. What makes it Afrofuturistic? They made it in their own way. Okay, so what do you mean by that? They made it in their own way. What are they making or remaking, reimagining? Helmets. Okay, what is it made out of? If you can look closely. Helmets for racing. What is it made out of? Plastic, yes. Or metal. Is it plastic or metal?
Well, both. I think the visor here is made from plastic, right? Okay,
so Caleb said soup cans and pop cans. And if you look closely, you can see, and then on his arm, you can see an image of a Black woman on the actual soup can, or at least that's what it looks like to me.
Okay.
That's what it looks like to me. It's like her hair, like some kind of structure on top of her head. And they just, again, reimagined it to be a helmet, and then a belt, a bracelet.
Shoulder pads here.
Shoulder pads.
So this looks like a bulk can of like tomato juice or diced tomatoes or something. But yeah, so they repurposed it. That's the word I like to use. And used it to make their suits or their outfits here. But then you see here, if you look at their shirts, these are like the nylon or burlap style bags that they've used to kind of make as clothing. Now, I think Caleb has said for racing, when I saw it and what I thought made it futuristic, I imagined it was some sort of a like astronaut outfit, right? Like a helmet for being out in space. And again, these kids are using their imagination when they're designing these things. And again, the colors too kind of harken back to like African red and black. So go ahead.
And then this last image here of Solange, who's Beyonce's little sister, that we all love. If you look at this image, what makes this Afro-futuristic? Her headpiece is made of light. Okay. All right. So you get like this celestial, if you all don't know what that is, like heavenly type of imagery there.
Like
so with
halo,
the light,
almost like a halo,
like a halo,
like an angel's halo.
Yep. So it's made of light. What else?
The light. Yeah.
What makes it the African part of it? What makes it distinctly African? How it's designed, okay? Like Mr. Mo has said, it's like circular, halo. It's a snowflake, so it's almost like, you know, it's white against this like darker background. And then if you know anything about Solange, like all of this stuff is very intentional. So Yeah, just some, I guess it depends on your eye, like how your eye translates that. I see white, but yeah, you might see blue. And so, regardless, it's like some kind of like, heavenly, angelic type of image there. And some people, after she had done this performance, felt like it was related to this image here, which is the crow braids. This is a Congolese, so from the Congo, a braiding style that they do that they said takes about 40 hours to do. So I'm sure she has on some kind of like wig, but some people felt like she was drawing from this African hairstyle here. If you've never seen it before. So that's called the crow braiding style, CROWE braids, that you all can look up after this is over. Okay, so now Mr. Mo, so great job with that. He's going to get you all into the actual activity using Autodesk SketchBook.
So again, when we want to think about this activity, is really an opportunity to introduce you to a design tool that you can start to use in a way that, but we're going to connect it to Afrofuturism, because we're going to use it to do an activity where we kind of lay out and think about what an Afrofuturistic city would look like, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to use this design tool. It's called Autodesk SketchBook. You can download it. It's free to download and use. It can be used really on any device. And then you can use it to sketch designs and capture your ideas, okay? So if you want to download this, you can do it after we go through this activity on your iPhone, iPad, your computer, your desktop or laptop. Visit sketchbook.com. And again, it's a very powerful tool in terms of for drawing and capturing designs. And it can be, again, another a digital tool that you can add to your toolkit, okay? So what are we going to do? Let me escape out of here and go back to, so we're going to go to the SketchBook app, okay? And so, one second. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. I think you can, let me see.
And then you can probably pull them up.
Yeah, let me know if you can see that or if you can't see it.
You're looking for volunteers.
You can see it? Okay, good. So I'm just moving around some of these tools here, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to import an image, okay? So it's kind of like tracing. When you're not a great artist like myself, then you can use some images to trace on and then actually remove those images and leave your sketch over on top of that, right? So we're going to go to the to File and then Add Image, okay? And if you're using the app, it's a little bit of a different process, but there's a way to add an image. I got a city map image here. And so I'm actually gonna try to zoom out here. Let's see. There we go. I'll place that there. So I'll use my fingers here to kind of zoom out. Okay. So this will give us. I'll move it around here. Okay. So this will give us a little basic structure here to start with. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now when we have that, that's like our base layer. Then we're going to add another layer. So I'll go over here and add a layer using this. And so that'll give me a layer on top. Mm-hmm. Now, so when I draw, so I'm going to do some quick drawing here. So you see, and then when I hide this bottom layer, that sketch is left there. Okay. So I'll undo that. All right. So here's the basic, I guess, layout of our city. I chose this because if we're thinking about an Afrofuturistic society or a society that we want to essentially create from scratch, at least in my mind, I always feel like a city center or a place for people to gather was always good. Okay, so that's why I wanted to start with this center here, and it's actually in the shape of a hexagon. So I'll start to kind of just sketch in this, what this would look like. So we're going to say that this is our city center, or really like it can be a green space, or it can be maybe a park or something like that, or a combination of that. Okay. So, but if we're thinking about a futuristic society that we want to create, what are some of the other things that we may want to add to our city? And so what I actually do is I'll bring you up. At least you can accept your voice, and we'll talk through. Caleb, would you mind coming up and kind of helping me?
Yeah,
just your voice. If you say yes, then I'll pull you up here. Okay, cool. So you should get a notification there to ask you to come up. Is he up? Okay. Can you hear me, Caleb? Oh, it's connecting. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining. So we got our city center. Like, what is something else, a building or something, artifact that you think we would need for an Afrofuturistic society or city?
Well, like I would think you'd need more, like a building with like lots of shapes and like that kind of goes like all over the place. That has like different functions to it.
Like a multi-purpose building?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's say 1 second here. All right, so let's say we'll use this building here. This will be our multi-purpose building. So I'll just kind of use this as a again, like as a guide. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll zoom in here. And then I'll just put like MP for multi-purpose. Okay, so now though, if we're thinking like if you have this city where you're raising your kids or you got your family, what are some things that you think from an institutional standpoint we need to have, right? To make our city great.
Like I would think like we need, like technically we could use the multi-purpose building for like workplaces and like school places, but we also need something to like connect all of the connects everywhere to each other.
Okay, meaning like
a maglev train or something like that.
Oh, okay, so some sort of transportation hub. So maybe we can say that this is these lanes here are like our ways to get to the center of the city from the exterior parts of the city. And these could be maglev trains or something like that, right? Okay, good. And give me one more thing that you think we would need. Again, and this is really where we're talking about, like, if we want a society where people are educated, what do you think we need?
Schools somewhere.
Schools, right? Yep. So let's say that we have our school over here, okay, and just because it gives us an opportunity to spread out a little bit, okay? Cool. And then let's say right next to the school we have like a library or something, okay?
Yeah.
Because we want to have a collection of knowledge, right? Okay, cool. Thanks, Caleb.
Welcome.
So, all right. So now we're gonna bring up Zhora and see what she has to say that we can add to our city here. And I'll actually change the color here. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your thoughts, Zhora?
What else can we add, right?
Yeah, to our city. That we would need to not only make it an Afrofuturistic city, but something that would make a great city to be in, right, for families. So we got a transportation hub here, green space, library, school. What else do you think we would need? What would you want to have in this city?
Mm,
Huh?
I don't know.
What are some of the things that you would like to do that would add?
The things I like to do are really Afrofuturism. You want me to like say something that's Afrofuturistic?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, but what would you want if you could design your own city, like a perfect city that would have some of the elements that you would like?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those things you would want to add to the city?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you like to do?
Go to like get air or something.
Okay.
Okay, so like a recreational center,
Yeah.
right? So that's good. So we'll just call it a rec center. So we'll put that back over here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's a rec center. What else?
Grocery store.
Good. So
Yeah, you definitely need a place
a
to
grocery
eat.
store. So let's say we'll have a store here where we can buy stuff, but then because we have a large city, we want to kind of make it self-sustaining. Let's say as an extension of what you were saying with the grocery store, let's say that this is our farm. Okay, maybe we want to have a farm so that we can have fresh fruits and vegetables close to the city, right? In the urban area, right? So now we have a farm, and then right next to it, we would have our grocery store, okay? So that we can take it straight from the farm to the grocery, okay?
I almost feel like, yeah, like that.
Huh?
Ideally, I would think the grocery store would be a little bit bigger, you know, just so it's kind of like this mega spot.
I mean, it's still relatively big. This is all. Remember, we're looking at it from kind of the air.
Yeah.
So if because the farm has to be pretty big to sustain the city.
Mm-hmm.
The grocery store not as big as the farm. So,
Mm-hmm.
what else? One more, because I know that this is something you like to do, and I was thinking about we could put it over here. This looks like it could be.
The mall.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, your first
Yeah.
response was going to be the mall.
So maybe we have our shopping center here or mall.
Mall. Okay.
Now, this is not technically Afrofuturistic, but again, just the idea of like using these design tools to either create or design something that could be Afrofuturistic, or if we're just talking about laying out a city. Now, once we go and hide the background, now we can kind of see what our city looks like without that structure behind it. So again, just really wanted to give you an opportunity to learn how to use some of these digital design tools. And you can use them for anything. And if you, so once we get into the dive deeper portion, you'll be able to use some character blanks to actually design some Afrofuturistic costumes for some characters. Okay, so using Autodesk SketchBook.
But you were making the point. Did you want to?
Close
I don't
off.
know how to. No, leave this up, Zhora. Turning her because her mic is still on. But you were making the point that you didn't feel like this image that they had come up with was totally futuristic. But what do you think could make it Afrofuturistic? And you guys can just type on the side. Because I guess just looking at it is not necessarily Afrofuturistic, but you know, if we were to dig deeper into this, what would make it Afrofuturistic? And just type it on the side. What do you think? I forget.
Did you want me to give my ideas too, or no?
Yeah, well, after I want to see what they have to say. Okay, so a technology lab, adding that. What about what we have already here presented? So if you want to point to, just so we have the mall, we have, you said a multiplex center, the MP. Multi-purpose center, a grocery store, a farm, a rec center. What would make this scene Afrofuturistic? What do you think? And you all can just type it on the side, like your thoughts. So more colors, definitely. So I think if you were to have a discussion, you can add colors in that are, again, distinctly African. Any other ideas on what
import-export area?
An import-export area, okay.
Yeah,
where
so
we're trading. Is that what you think? Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, so the layout may not technically be Afrofuturistic, right, but once we zoom in and let's say the design or the architecture of these buildings can be Afrofuturistic in a way, right?
Yes.
So now once we start to actually build the grocery store or the multi-purpose area or the area here in the center, the gathering spot, those may have elements, facades that are harken to the Afrofuturism piece, right? And then also having the technology, like we said, technology lab, multi-purpose area, all of those things that serve a more advanced society, right? So maybe we have also over here, maybe we have a drone landing pad, right? So drones that can carry people. So if we're thinking about the future now, so if you want to, so we have the mass transit here where you can hop on the maglev train and go to some part of the city out here. But then we also may have the drones that carry 3 or 4 people to different parts of the city as well. So that's the technology piece as well. But really the goal of this exercise was to really introduce you to Autodesk SketchBook, which is, again, a digital tool that you can add to your toolkit for coming up, sketching designs, brainstorming things, creating, plans or prototypes, blueprints for things you want to create. And again, if you can get familiar with using these are a good stepping stone into like Adobe products like Photoshop, Illustrator, and so forth. And so again, just some more tools, digital tools that you can use in the future. Okay. So, well,
you're going to show the.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it was
and so and then
dive deeper.
So we'll go back to this real quickly, the PowerPoint. So this is your dive deeper assignment. Okay, and I'll post this actually in on the website in the Wakanda Tech Academy class. I want you to download Sketchbook for your device, whether that's an iPhone, an iPad, your desktop, or Mac, or whatever. It's available. Download it, and then I want you to import one of the character blanks. So the character blanks are similar to what you see here. This one is a Black Panther. There's one of a female woman form, and then there's another just a generic man form. Okay, so I want you to draw on top of those blanks, kind of like I showed you here. Create another layer on top of that, and create an outfit or some sort of a suit on top of your blank that's Afrofuturistic in a way. So think about the colors, the patterns you want to use, and use Autodesk SketchBook for that. Okay, so this will give you some more practice using it. And again, I think it's a very powerful tool. These are professional level tools. Okay, so you're learning to use them now, but these are actually tools that professionals use on a daily basis. And so getting a good head start on that is cool. So, and then once you do that, share your creation on Club OASIS, either in the main site or in the class section as well. Okay, and then just whenever you get some time, practice using it. It's great. Like I said, if you just want to color or things like that, you can use it for that as well. Okay. Cool. Well,
is that good?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Is that it? Okay. All right.
Hopefully, like I said, these tools are something that you can get used to using, because they're, again, and this is the what I feel like is the great part, is they're professional level tools again. So if you're learning to use these, then you'll definitely have a step up on using these in the workplace.
Yep. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.
See you later.
See ya. Till next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.